Morning, everybody. It's Amanda, and it's time for the live Bible study. I am excited to see you guys today and hang out with you and go into Second Kings. It's our first time heading into Second Kings, and there's a whole lot to cover today because, of course, our Bible study, the purpose of it is to find any verses that are related to food and see what they have to say so we can, better our relationship with both the Lord and food, because some of us struggle with that, including myself, which is why I decided to do this. Of course, this is my personal devotions that I'm just sharing with you guys as I do this topical study. So we are moving right along, like I said, into Second Kings, and we're going to do that in just a second, but I usually spend the first 5 minutes going over prayer requests. If you have any prayer requests, you can go ahead and leave those in the chat, and I'll make sure I grab those. And for right now, I'm just going to take and share the link. I always share the link on the Fundamental Faith Facebook group, so that if you are not notified by YouTube, which YouTube doesn't always do a great job of notifying people when we're here and we're live, you will get the notification if you follow on the Fundamental Faith Facebook group. So you can join there if you would like and be notified when we're live, and then you will be prepared when we are going to do a Bible study. And let's see, join us for our live Bible study. Of course, it is morning for us, and all the fellows are getting ready to go around and go to school, go to work, do their thing. So you'll see them wandering around in the background, but that's okay. We're just gonna let them do their thing while we do our thing. So just a few more minutes for prayer requests. If you guys have any, I'm gonna share this one last link, and then I'll be ready to take the prayer request down and make sure that we are ready for this morning. It is Monday. I know it's Monday, and everybody's probably very busy on a Monday morning. I've tons of things that I want to get done today. And where we are, I don't know how it is where you are, but where we are, it is supposed to be an absolutely beautiful day today. So I'm very excited to, of all things, clean my house. I want to try to get my windows open and really just freshen up my house. I'm very excited about it. So, but I can't start my day without my devotion. So we've got to get that done first thing. So we're here, and I think I've just shared everything. Alrighty, so we have everything. Like I said, if you have any prayer requests, go ahead and share those. We have about 2.5 more minutes for prayer requests, and then we'll get started. I would ask you to pray for me. I have an unspoken request. I have some big things that I'm thinking about doing, and I'm really just seeking the Lord's wisdom on it. And so because I'm seeking the Lord's wisdom, I'm not ready to announce anything yet. I just want to know the Lord's will. So if you would pray with me about that, I would appreciate it. And that's all I have in terms of prayer requests. We have, good morning, Tina. We have just under 2 minutes, and then we'll get ready to get started. So don't forget, if you have prayer requests, to mention those, and we will get that going. Good morning, Carrie. How are you? Hello. I see folks are popping in. I'm gonna guess that everybody found out on Facebook, because there just wasn't much activity going on when it was just on YouTube notifications. So we'll see how that goes. At work on a break, but good morning. Good morning, Carissa. Hope you guys are here. I have people causing problems and a back doctor's appointment. So we'll pray for you, Carrie. For those requests. I got another minute on requests, and then we'll get started on the Bible study. Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Carrie. Okay. I hope you guys are having a good Monday morning. I actually feel like the day has started fairly well. Kind of slow, but I feel like it's going to get super fast as the day goes by. I have a list a mile long of things that need to get done. I really want to KonMari my house like crazy. I know everybody's into it, but if you watch the TV show, it's really encouraging. And though I don't agree with all of her practices in terms of how she handles things spiritually, the house cleaning aspect of it, I do think is a good practice for everyone. And I was reflecting on it this week, the idea of letting go of the things that hold us back in our household. And the pastor was preaching yesterday, and he said something about giving up, being willing to give up worldly things in order to have a more perfect. I'm totally not going to say it right, but just a more perfect experience here, because we're less hindered by things and we can focus more on the Lord. And I was like, oh, yes, I can get into that. So anyway, okay, we are over our time. So let's go ahead and open in a word of prayer, and we'll get started with the Bible study, okay? Lord, thank you so much for bringing us together this morning and giving us some time to gather around your word before we start a busy Monday and a busy week. We're in a fresh book, and I just pray that you would bless our study this morning. I pray for these requests that we might have on our hearts. Carrie is having this difficulty with other people, and I pray that you would smooth that circumstance out. Give her wisdom in how to deal with it, and help her to be encouraged in spite of the struggle. And also I pray for her back doctor appointment, that it would go well and she would get the help that she needs to be healthier. I pray for my unspoken, Lord. You know what that is, and I just pray that you would work in that situation and give me wisdom. And I also pray for the other unspokens that I'm sure that weren't mentioned, that are on people's hearts this morning. I just pray you'd be in those circumstances, and we could just trust in you, and that you would show yourself strong. So Lord, I pray for the Bible study. I pray that you would give me exactly what to say, and just help us be encouraged this morning. In Christ's name we pray, amen. Okay. I know, it does feel good to keep things minimal, right? All right, so we finished 1 Kings, okay? When last we talked, they were talking to Ahab that he was going to die, and we said Ahab died. That was the last thing that happened in 1 Kings, because he told them, the one prophet, remember all the prophets said, go do that battle, the Lord's in it, and the one prophet was like, no, he's not, don't do it. And they were like, put him in prison, give him the bread of affliction. And he's like, I'll do that till I come back. And he said, if you come back, then I lied. And of course he didn't come back. Ahab died. All of the Lord's prophecies had come true, and that was the end of Ahab at the end of 1 Kings. So you go into 2 Kings, and you end up with Ahab's son, who, just like his father, didn't do right and was destroyed because of it. So, but in the beginning of 2 Kings, you're kind of flowing not just from the end of Ahab and the end of his son, which, by the way, Elijah also addressed his son and warned him of his wickedness, but you see that the time is coming in 2 Kings that Elijah is going to pass the mantle to Elisha. You know, there's a whole story, and it's not related to our Bible study, but I encourage you to read it because I think it's a really good one, here at the beginning of 1 Kings chapter 1 and into chapter 2, where Elijah knows the Lord has given him wisdom that his time is coming, it's the end, and he needs to go to a certain place. Elijah also knows that it's the end, he's going with him, and they go together, and the Lord takes Elijah up into a chariot. And he just goes into heaven, he just takes him home. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't know why. The guys must have sprayed something, but I'm just like, anyway, have a good day, Carissa. So I encourage you to read the beginning part of that, but our Bible study, like I said, is focused on verses that are related to food. So the very first mention of food actually comes in 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 19, okay? And this is after Elijah is carried up in the chariot, and when that happens, we'll start at verse 12, just to kind of give you the backstory as to what's going on. I was trying to read as little to you as possible so we don't take up the whole time, but hey, let's read it. Verse 12 says, and Elijah saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof, and he saw no more. And he took hold of his own clothes and rent them to pieces. And he took up also the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. So he took up Elijah's mantle. And he took the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and smote the waters, and said, where is the Lord of Elijah? And when he also had smitten the waters, they parted hither and thither, and Elisha went over. And when the sons of the prophet, let's just pause there and just say that, the Lord, he inquired of the Lord. He was like, where are you, Lord? I need you. Just having the mantle wasn't enough. He needed the Lord. So, excuse me, verse 15 says, and when the sons of the prophets, which were to view at Jericho, saw him, they said, the spirit of Elijah doth rest on Elisha. It was obvious. And they came to meet him and bowed themselves to the ground before him. And they said unto him, behold, now there be with thy servants 50 strong men. Let them go, we pray thee, and seek thy master, lest peradventure the Spirit of the Lord hath taken him up and cast him upon some mountain or into some valley. And he said, you shall not send. And when they urged him till he was ashamed, he said, send. And they sent therefore 50 men, and they sought 3 days, but found him not. So these people with him were just like, what if something happened? And he's like, nothing happened. I saw it. I know what happened. And finally, he's just like, fine, go look. And of course, they didn't find him. So verse 19 is where they're all facing the reality that Elijah is gone. It's just them and Elisha, which is perfectly fine. This is a lot to wrap their minds around. So they're dealing with it. And says, and the men of the city said unto Elisha, behold, I pray thee, the situation of the city is pleasant as my Lord seeth, but the water is not, and the ground barren. And he said, bring me a new cruse, and put salt therein. And they brought it to him. And he went forth unto the spring of waters, and cast the salt in there, and said, thus saith the Lord, I have healed these waters. There shall not be from thence any more death or barren land. So the waters were healed unto this day, according to the saying of Elisha, which he spake. And that's the whole portion that we're going to talk about today. The first mention is also the first, I mean, I guess it would kind of be the second miracle, because the first one would be when he split the waters of Jordan. But here's the one where he healed the water. And of course, if you don't know, he asked for a double portion of what Elijah had. And so they say that in the Bible there are 7 miracles of Elijah, and Elisha has 14. So we can start counting if we want, but they're just a side note if you want to keep track. But here's this miracle that he heals the water. So what the guys are saying is, there's a lot of people here, and it's very beautiful, but the water is bad, and the ground is barren, and the ground is barren because of the water. And so he heals the water. He puts a little salt in a little cruse and puts it in there, and he says, I've healed it, and there's no more death and no more barren land. So, of course, again, I will say, for the purpose of our Bible study, good morning, Christy, we are focusing on any verse that has to do with food and just kind of gleaning what we can from it and getting wisdom so that we might figure out something that will change our relationship with it and how we can be healthier and happier and live well. So when I was reading this passage and studying it, the one thing I wrote down, I don't know if you can see it in my Bible. Can you see that right there? I put bad water. Now, this is something that's very relevant to me, and I think a lot of folks here in the U.S. in particular. I know that there are certain areas of the U.S., like Michigan, I think is the most popular or well-known one, where the water isn't good. You hear all these stories in the news about bad water situations. In our area, we have a coal plant, not too far from where we are. We're not like right next door or anything, but not too far. And the coal ash has gotten into the water system, and it's a big deal. It's in the news, people talk about it, and they're trying to solve that problem. Excuse me. But people here are very concerned about the water in the system because of the possible pollution that might be in it. And I think that it's something that we all need to be concerned about, because first of all, I think not enough people drink water. Let's just start there. Let's just start with the fact that most people don't even drink water now. They drink other beverages, which essentially is water that's kind of polluted in a way. It depends on how you look at it. In that, not that it's pollution that it'll kill you, but it's got things in it in addition to the water. So it could hinder your ability to quench your thirst. Not enough people drink water. Not even close. And you can have other beverages that aren't necessarily bad, like a fruit juice isn't bad, but we all need water. We all need to be refreshed. We all need to be cleansed. And, the whole idea with this water was it wasn't just that the water was bad, it was making the ground barren. And, you know, a lot of people have health issues because they don't have a sufficient amount of water. They're constantly in a state of dehydration, and they're just not treating their body well. So just having water to begin with, I think, is definitely a good thing to note. But then making sure the water that you have is clean and healthy is a whole entirely different thing. And again, I mean, it really just depends. Oh, of course. Well, I mean, it's not to say anything about whatever anyone's drinking. I'm just saying in this particular passage, we're emphasizing water. And I think water is good for everyone. And I think everyone needs to have more. And it's so uncommon. When we go to restaurants, we almost always get water. And partially it's a frugality thing, but partially it's just because we only drink water. I've had problems, as you know, with my kidneys for years and years and years. And so I really almost never drink anything other than water. I mean, I used to drink coffee a little bit. I can't have that anymore. I wish. I miss the taste of it. I can occasionally have a little cocoa. I can occasionally have some herbal tea. But I really can't have anything other than water. So when I go to a restaurant, it's almost always water that I get. And they usually look at me funny. Because it's not common. Most people don't do that. Most people get sodas or tea or, you know, some other beverage than water. And it just, they're kind of, everybody kind of looks at me funny about that. But even at a restaurant, like there's one restaurant in our area that we would go to because they had a dollar menu, and they, you know, we would occasionally go there. And it wasn't McDonald's, by the way. There was another one that we would go to. And I would always feel sick afterwards. And I couldn't figure out why. I just thought it was weird because I'm like, I'm having like a baked potato. I'm having water. Like there's nothing here that would really make me sick. But found out they weren't cleaning their machine that the water came out of, and so stuff was growing in there. And it just kind of grossed me out, so then I'm kind of freaking out about, because their water came out of a machine, it just didn't come out of the tap. And even out of the tap, you got to worry about that too. But it was one of those things that reminded me, yet again, that you have to know where things are coming from. That goes with your food, that goes with your beverages, you know, and possibly because other beverages came out of that machine, the other beverages had enough acid in them that it would kill off any of the bacteria, but water didn't. Water's just straight water, obviously. So it's just one of those things that you have to be mindful of where your food and where your drink is coming from. And we've seen that over and over again in the Bible. You have to know the quality of it. They were actually looking at the water in the land, and they could see signs that the water wasn't good. And here's a sign that the water's not good. The land is barren. If the land is barren, the water's not good, right? What signs could we see? If the people are not healthy, the water's probably not good. You know what I mean? I'm sure there are people, and I don't live in Michigan. I've visited there. But I'm sure that people were looking around going, why is everybody getting sick? What's going on? There must be something happening. And people probably joked, it's in the water. And didn't really realize it really was in the water. There really was something going on. And this isn't to freak anybody out by any means, but I do think we need to be mindful. I think there's so much that we go through life and we just don't think about it. We just do it. And then when we have problems, it's like, it's glaringly obvious, but we miss it because we're just so used to just doing the routine. So it's good to pause and really consider, do I know where my water's coming from? Do I know if it's clean? And it's something that it's actually been on my mind in recent years. Since Ricky got sick and I got sick, and we had to be really mindful of what we put in our bodies. Marie says, I agree, I'm pregnant and finding it hard to drink water. Although I always drink water, and then I don't feel well because of no water, so it's a vicious cycle. I totally get that. Since I've had problems with my kidneys and Ricky got sick a few years ago, it's been on my mind a lot about the quality of water. And there are a lot of great filter companies out there, and not just like tabletop filters for what you drink or things that you would hook up to your tap. Also system-wide filters where it's going to come into your house and be cleaned for the shower. But then, you know, this is the other thing. I'm just sharing. This is not a direction to anyone. This is just sharing you my thoughts on it. But then I also think too that if you over-filter it, then you don't have minerals in it. So then they sell these minerals that you can add to your water so that you're still getting the minerals that you need. Again, vicious cycle. So it's just one of those things that, like I said, it's been on my mind and I've been concerned about is water. You know, are we getting enough? Is the quality of what we're getting good? Can we look around and see any evidence that either of those things aren't happening? And if we are, what are we going to do to make decisions to make sure what we're having is good? You know what I mean? But water is a basic. You know, if we go back to, you know, the guy who was put in prison and just given barely enough to stay alive, he was given bread and he was given water. And there's Lady. Water is just a basic necessity, and we really don't think about it often. But do we have clean water? Do we have good water? Are we getting enough of the water that we need so that we can be healthy and take care of our bodies and take care of our families? It's something that we really need to be concerned about. And maybe we aren't thinking about it often enough. I know people, when they're thinking about weight loss, they'll think about how much water they're having. Colin's Life says, I grew up as a missionary kid in a third world country, and many of the Indians we worked with were so sick because of drinking dirty river water, and it's so important we filtered and boiled it. Yes. Was there any scientific help for that water and the salt he put in? I don't know what you mean by scientific help. You mean scientific, like... I mean, I'm sure there is. It's still considered a miracle. But I thought that same thing myself. Like, it just seems reasonable that if you wanted to kill bacteria, that you would put salt in something. Salt kills bacteria. So, I mean, it seems like it's sensible, but at the same time, yes, this is one of those things. Or was it simply a miracle? At the same time, you know, I just think when in doubt, I'm going to give credit to the Lord. Because I don't know Elisha. I don't know how brilliant and studied he was. As far as I know, he was a farmer. Doesn't mean he's unintelligent. He could be a brilliant farmer. I know plenty of those. But I don't know. You know what I mean? Did he have just this wisdom? The wisdom that he had, did it come from God? I think ultimately the Lord gets the glory for that, right? Regardless, whether that he had wisdom and understood the science behind it and put it in there, or that it was a miracle. But either way, like I said, I think it totally is up to, you know, goes back to the Lord and his wisdom. But anyway, so like I said, when people are, yeah, I know. No, I don't know if you want to add salt to your water. I don't know if that's a good idea. It would have to be like 1 crystal, because you don't want to overdo that. But here's the other thing. I mean, in terms of salt, and that's a good thing. I never even thought about salt in terms of this passage of scripture, but salt is good for us too. I mean, we all need salt, and I don't know in what quantity, or I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to determine what kind of salt, how much salt, but I know we need it. I know we can't do without it. But in terms of the cleansing properties, I think that that's probably another reason why we do need salt. I've never really given much thought to salt and what it actually does within our body. But when you see it here and how it cleansed the water, you know, you can think about the salt that if we're not having enough salt, that it wouldn't get rid of the bad things that are in our body. Does that make sense? That's just a consideration. Again, I am not an expert in these things. These are just thoughts in my head as I read the Bible. So it's just some thoughts to consider. I mean, hey, salt. Don't overdo salt, though. That I know you don't want to. Frankly, you don't want to overdo water. Again, there's moderation in everything. If you overdo water, you wash out your minerals. If you overdo salt, you'll dry up all the water. So none of this is to be overdone. It's to be eaten well. Exactly. But, you know, you need to make good choices. And this is just one of those things. I think people put salt on their food because it tastes good. But are people drinking water? Probably not. When I go to restaurants, I don't see anybody lacking for salt. I do see people lacking for water. That's just my observation. But anyway, Colin's Life says, I've been eating keto for 5 years. I add salt to my water to balance electrolytes. Wow. like I said, I don't know anything about that. I don't know what quantity one would do that, but it's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I literally had no idea. I know that we had friends, we still have friends who are missionaries in third world countries, and they do not use salt to cleanse the water, but they're very concerned about the cleansing of their water, and it's something that they have to be mindful of at all times. So, oh, Brianna says she adds salt and lemon to her water. You guys are opening my mind to something new and exciting, and I appreciate it. So, okay, well, that's all that I had today. So I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me. And Lord willing, we'll be back on Wednesday to go to our next set of verses, which will be in 2 Kings 3. So, again, totally read 2 Kings 1 and 2 just to get caught up in the story if you'd like. And that's that. So you guys have a wonderful day. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope everybody gets their house clean and all their things accomplished. And I hope everybody drinks plenty of water and stays healthy and refreshed this week. So, all right, you guys have a great day. We'll see you guys next time.